Hello, dear students. How is it, everyone? So, I again welcome you in this class. This is lecture number 6 of this chapter Chemical Reaction and Equation. So, without any delay, let's begin this class. Okay, students. So, here we are. Here we will study about effects of oxidation reaction in everyday life. So, we all know what is oxidation reaction, where there is an addition of oxygen. So we also know this example where carbon is getting oxidized in CO2. Okay, and if there is a reduction, then what happens? The hydrogen removes from that element or from that substance. So we will call that substance or compound is getting reduced. I hope, guys, these two important reactions are clear to you. Now let's talk about the effects of oxidation reaction. So basically here we will study about corrosion and rancidity. Rancidity. So these are two effects of oxidation. So we will first study about corrosion. So the process of slow conversion of metals into their undesirable compounds due to their reaction with oxygen, water, acid, gases, etc. present in the atmosphere is called corrosion. So guys, what happens? Let's suppose this is your metal. Okay, now in the surrounding of this metal, there is presence of oxygen, okay, and there is also presence of water vapors, acids, and some type of gases. So these gases will attack on this metal and they will oxidize this metal. Okay, so this is known as corrosion of metal. Now what is the disadvantage of this corrosion? So guys, because of this corrosion, our metal gets destroyed, or you can say it gets damaged, or it loses its properties. So this is the disadvantage of corrosion. So if you are asked what is corrosion, so you will simply say that the process of slow conversion of metal into their undesirable compounds. Because when this metal will react with oxygen and the water vapor presence in this air, then it will convert into the metal oxide. So basically here you can see that metal is converted into some other compound. It is no longer metal now. It has become another compound. So that is the reason that you can say the corrosion is very dangerous to us. Okay. So now guys, we will study rusting here. So what is rusting? So basically guys, rusting is nothing but the corrosion of iron is known as rusting. Okay, and the corroded metal will be known as rust. Okay, so in this picture you can see that on this car you might have seen a brownish color of layer has formed because of the corrosion. Okay, so this is an example of rusting, and this layer is known as rust. Okay guys, now you cannot say every corrosion rusting. Basically, the corrosion, if iron corrodes, then we will call it rusting. So the corrosion is specifically in the case of iron, we will call it rusting. Otherwise, there are other terms if you talk about corrosion of different metals. So here we are talking about iron, that's why we will call it rusting. Now guys, when iron reacts with oxygen and moisture and forms red substance which is called rust. So you can say that when iron reacts with oxygen and moisture presence in the atmosphere and form a red substance, then we will call it rusting, and that red substance is known as rust. So rusting is basically a redox reaction. It is a redox reaction. So guys, let me write the reaction which happens in the case of iron. So let's suppose this is your iron, okay, and it is in solid state because this is a metal. Now we all know that in the atmosphere oxygen is present. Oxygen is present and oxygen is a gas, that's why I will write gas. Now there is also presence of moisture, and moisture is what? Hydrogen dioxide means water, so it is liquid. Now when these two things attack on iron, then this iron will form rust, and the formula for rust is Fe2O3 dot XH2O. Okay, and it is also solid because the layer of the rust is basically what? It is solid. So this compound Fe2O3 dot XH2O is known as hydrated ferric oxide. Let me write it here. Hydrated ferric oxide. Okay guys, I hope this thing is clear to you. So what do you have to remember here? That when iron is attacked by oxygen and moisture, then it forms a red substance, and the red substance is known as rust, and this process is known as rusting. Okay guys, and you also have to remember that this reaction where the rust is being formed, this reaction is a redox reaction. It is a redox reaction because oxidation and reduction both is taking place simultaneously. So that's why it is an example of redox reaction. Now guys, what happens when the iron corrodes? Then the corrosion weakens the iron and the steel objects. Okay, so whenever iron corrodes, then due to this corrosion, the iron gets weak. Okay, or it can be damage its structure. So let's suppose, because we know that most of the infrastructure is made of the iron. So that's why if iron gets weak, then it will create a dangerous situations because we use iron in railings, bridges, car bodies, ships. Okay, so this corrosion basically cut short its life. Okay, because of this corrosion, the iron will become weak and it will cut short its life. So we have to prevent this iron from rusting. It is very, very important because iron is widely used, and if iron gets weaker, then it will become problematic. So guys, we will study some methods to prevent the corrosion of iron, or you can say to prevent iron from rusting. So the first method is we can do it by painting. We can do it by painting. So guys, let's suppose if this is your iron, okay, and if I paint here like this, paint the surface of the iron, then what will happen? This paint will form a layer, and this layer will basically give the iron to be attacked by the oxygen and the water vapor, or you can say the moisture present in the atmosphere. Okay, so what will happen if you paint this iron? Then this painting, or you can say this paint, will form a layer, and because of this layer, this iron will not get in touch with the oxygen and the other elements, or you can say moisture or water vapor present in the air. So this is the first way, and by this method we can save the iron from rusting. Now guys, let's talk about the second method. So the second method is by greasing, by greasing and oiling. Okay, so if we paint iron with grease or with oil, then this will also do the same thing. It will also make a layer, and this layer will prevent iron to be in touch directly with oxygen and the water vapor. And to the formation of rust, these two things are very important: this oxygen and this moisture. If iron will not get this oxygen or this moisture, or you can say if iron doesn't get directly in touch with oxygen and moisture, then it will not be corroded. So I hope guys these two methods are clear. Now there is another method as well. So let me write it here, and this method is galvanization. Galvanization. So what is galvanization? So basically guys, galvanization is nothing but if I paint the coating of zinc above the iron, or you can say if I make a layer of zinc over the iron, then what will happen? It will be known as galvanization. This process will be known as galvanization. So what galvanization do? Basically, we all know that zinc is highly reactive, or you can say zinc is more reactive than iron. Okay, zinc is more reactive than iron. So this zinc will react with oxygen and you can say with carbon dioxide, and it will form a layer. So this layer will work as a prevention, and it will keep our iron safe to be in touch with oxygen and moisture. Okay, so because zinc is highly reactive, so firstly it will react with oxygen and it will save our iron, or it will prevent our iron to be corroded. I hope guys this galvanization is clear to you. Guys, I hope this thing is clear to you. Now, what we have seen rusting. And what is rusting? Rusting is nothing but the formation of red substance, and that is rust. And why this rust is formed? because of the reaction between iron, oxygen and moisture. Now guys, this is the rusting reaction and this is the redox reaction, and we have also seen that this rusting makes the iron weaker, so that's why we have to prevent our iron from rusting. So we have seen three methods. We can do it by painting, by greasing and oiling, and we can also do it by galvanization. And what is galvanization? To coat the iron, or you can say that the coating of zinc above the iron. So it is galvanization. I hope guys these things are clear to you. Now let's move ahead and let's talk about the next topic. Okay students, so here we are. Here we will talk about the corrosion of copper. What we will study? We will study the corrosion of copper. So, in the case of iron, the corrosion of iron is known as rusting. But corrosion of copper is not an rusting. Because most of the students get confused here and they say the corrosion of copper rusting, but this is not true. Now guys, copper object lose their luster and shine after some time because the surface of these objects acquires a green coating of basic copper carbonate. Okay, so basically guys what happens, let's suppose this is your copper. Okay, now if this copper is left open in the air, then what will happen? After some time a green, or you can say a green coating will form over this copper. Okay, so why this happens? This happens because this copper react with carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is also present in the atmosphere, we all know it. Okay, and oxygen, oxygen is everywhere, so it reacts with oxygen and the moisture. Okay, this oxygen is gas, carbon dioxide is also gas, and this is solid. So when these reactants react, then they will form this basic copper carbonate. And what is the formula of basic copper carbonate? So CuCO3 dot CuOH all twice. So this is the formula of basic copper carbonate. Let me write it here for you. Basic copper carbonate. Okay. So this is what? This is basically corrosion of copper. I hope guys this thing is clear to you. So what is basically a corrosion of copper? So we all know that copper object lose their luster and shine after some time because the surface of these objects acquires a green coating of basic copper carbonate when it is exposed to air. So this is the corrosion of copper. Now guys, let's talk about the other thing and let's move on to the next slide. Okay guys, so here we are. Here we will talk about the corrosion of silver metal. Okay, yet we have seen the corrosion of iron and the corrosion of copper. Okay, so due to the corrosion of iron, red substance is formed which is called rust, and in the case of copper there is a green, you can say there is a green coating, okay, formed over the copper. So now let's talk about the corrosion of silver metal. So guys, what happens? The surface of silver metal gets tarnished, okay, and we call it tarnishing of silver metal because the surface of silver metal becomes black due to this corrosion of silver metal. And now let me tell you what is the equation of the corrosion of silver metal. Okay, so let's suppose this is your silver Ag. This is the representation of silver. This is a symbol for silver. Let me write it here for you. When this react with hydrogen sulfide, and these two reacts, then they will form silver sulfide. They will form what? Silver sulfide. This is silver sulfide. Okay, guys. So, because of this silver sulfide, the silver becomes black because the color of this silver sulfide is black, and hydrogen gas is also produced in this reaction. Okay, guys. So, I hope you might have known what is the reason of the tarnishing of silver metal. Okay, so here we will say that the metal is tarnished. So the surface of silver metal gets tarnished or becomes dull on exposure to air due to the formation of a coating of black silver sulfide on its surface by the action of H2S. It is what? H2S is what? Hydrogen sulfide gas present in the air. So I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Now let's move on to the next slide and let's talk about the other things. Okay guys, so here we are. Here we will study about the rancidity. Guys, what is rancidity? Basically, you might have seen that when fat and oil is left exposed to the air for a long time, or we can say that our normal food, if it is exposed to air, if we don't keep it in the refrigerator, then after some time you might have seen then the taste, or you can say the odor of that food material is changed. So why does it happen? This is also happens because of the oxidation of that fat and the oil, or you can say of that food material. Okay, so what is rancidity? So rancidity is basically the oxidation of earth, fat and oil and they present in the food materials. So you can see here the taste and odor of food materials containing fat and oil changes when they are left exposed to air for a long time, and this is called rancidity, and it is caused due to the oxidation of fat and oil present in food materials. Now guys, here we also have to see some methods to prevent rancidity. Methods to prevent rancidity. Now, how can we do it? So basically, if we prevent these food materials to be in touch with oxygen, then this will not be able to get oxidized. So what we can do, we can simply use these methods. So the first method is by adding antioxidant. By adding antioxidant. So guys, if antioxidants are added in your food material, then what will happen? This will prevent the oxidation of that food material. So basically, now the taste and the odor of that food material will not change because antioxidant is there and it will prevent the oxidation reaction. I hope guys this first method is clear to you. Now let's talk about the second method, and that is vacuum packing. So guys, in vacuum packing, what happens whenever there is vacuum, it means there is no presence of air. So if air is not present, then oxygen will also not be present, and thus we can say that oxidation reaction will not be able to take place. So this will also prevent rancidity. Now guys, let's talk about the third method, and that is replacing air by nitrogen. Replacing air by what? By nitrogen. So guys, what happens when you replace air by nitrogen? Then we all know that nitrogen is an inactive gas. Inactive gas. So it doesn't react with anything easily. So because of this property of nitrogen, a food material will become safe from the oxidation. So this is the third method of the prevention of rancidity. And you can say methods to prevent rancidity. So here we have seen three methods. I hope these three methods have been understood by you. Now guys, after understanding this, let's move ahead and let's talk about the examples. Okay students, so here we are. Here we will talk about some examples. So this is the first question in front of you. Corrosion of iron occurs in the presence of. So the first option is air and water. Second option is water and sugar, gas and sugar, and gas and water. So guys, when I taught you the corrosion of iron, then there I also told you that the iron, if it is to be corroded, then there are two main things which is needed to get it corrode. So those two necessary things are air and water. Okay, air means oxygen, because if there is air, then oxygen will also be there, and water basically what it is, we are talking about moisture. So these two are very very important. I hope guys this thing is clear to you. So the answer for this question is option number 1. Now guys, let's talk about the second question. So why gold ornaments don't lose their luster? So basically, we all know that gold is a noble metal. It is a noble metal. So it doesn't react with other elements easily. Okay. So basically guys, this is a noble metal. This doesn't react with other elements. So that's why, because of this property, it will not lose their luster. So gold ornaments will not lose their luster because of their this property, because gold is a noble metal. Now guys, let's talk about the chemical formula for rust. Okay, so the what is the chemical formula for rust? We had seen when I told you the equation for rusting, that when Fe reacts with oxygen and water, then it produces Fe2O3 dot XH2O. Okay, and this is what? This is rust. Okay, and this is also known as hydrated hydrated ferric oxide. Ferric oxide. So I hope guys this thing is clear to you. Now let's move ahead and let's talk about the other things. Okay guys. So here we will see two another examples. So first one is corrosion of iron known as. So what is basically corrosion of iron? We know that rusting is the name for corrosion of iron. So you can see option number third is right here because rusting is what? Basically rusting is the name of corrosion of iron. Now guys, let's talk about the last question. So when a vessel is exposed to air, it forms green coating on the surface. So the vessel must be made of what? Zinc, copper, magnesium or iron. So guys, when I taught you the corrosion of copper, you can see. So here I told you that coppers, when it gets corroded, then it acquires a green coating of basic copper carbonate. Okay, so here you in this question it is said that when a vessel is exposed to air, it forms a green coating on the surface. So this vessel must be made of what? Copper. So this is our right option. So I hope guys these examples are clear to you. So now guys, I hope I have been able to make you understand. Okay. So thank you so much guys and we will meet in the next lectures. Bye bye.